Hey everybody, Jack Barnwell here in beautiful northern Michigan. Welcome to another super exciting episode of Garden Walks with Jack. We're going to do a walk in the woods here in northern Michigan. It is a beautiful sunny evening and I have something really special to show you guys. So let's dive in. All right, everybody, so we are on this very special trail that I used to walk on with my dad way back in the day. Unfortunately, my father passed away when I was 20 years old, but we used to walk in these woods ever since I was knee-high, and this was a very special place for us to come, and this is where I learned so much about the forest, so much about plants and trees and all the animals and things living in the soil and in the earth, and he really passed on a tremendous amount of knowledge to me in these woods. And so we'll take a little walk. I'll show you through some of the beautiful plants that are coming up and growing through here, and a really neat little memento that is just here behind me. But starting right here at the beginning of the trail, we have some lily of the valley growing right in this big drift here that's just about to flower. And the flowers do have just a little bit of scent starting, but that is kind of coming down right into this creek here that runs all through the woods. Really a beautiful spot. This is called the Kohn Trail, or that's what my dad always used to call it anyway, the Kohn Trail. And oh gosh, we used to walk in here with my dad's dog Ben. Ben Man was a big, huge, old brown Chesapeake Bay retriever, and Ben would lumber through this forest and crash into the woods and make all kinds of noise. He was just hilarious. But you can see it's a very big, beautiful hardwood stand. A lot of big beech, maple, oak. I mean, some massive beech, hemlock through here. And one thing I wanted to show you guys that's super special, I'm so glad it's still here. I haven't been in here in a couple of years, but when I was 5 years old, my dad got me my very first Swiss Army knife. And we went on this hike and we were walking all through the woods, and he was teaching me all about the different trees and stuff like that, and showed me how you could scratch into a sugar maple and suck out the water and it was all sweet and all these things. I remember that day so well. And on that day, I carved my name into this tree, and he showed me how to do it and everything. And still, here we are 33 years later, and in this beautiful beech tree, you can see the J right here, that deeper scar. I must have had a little strength going. J, A, C, K. Jack B. I even got the B in there. Jack B right there. And the beech seems to be doing just fine. Really cool, gnarly, twisty roots growing down here below. It's just such an awesome tree. And I love coming here and just thinking about my dad and thinking about those times. And it's been wild, 33 years, and thinking about, you know, how proud he would be of things I've been doing, and just think about him walking in these woods with me. Here's a big, huge beech here that probably just went down. It looks like a fairly new tip over here. And that's a big beech to come down, slamming, crashing down like that. And looks like it found a nice little opening there. And when a big beech or any big tree like this falls in the forest, it creates an incredible opportunity for a big opening in the canopy, for a lot of new light to come in, and a lot of new ground covers and new plants and stuff like that to be able to get going. You can see this beech here is dead. It's what we call a snag, and you can see all the different funguses and all kinds of wildness growing on it, but this thing is providing an incredible amount of fun for those woodpeckers. Look at all those holes and everything up there. All this is woodpecker debris from those guys just pecking at. See, the beech is getting pretty spongy because unfortunately the beech borer beetle is getting into these beeches, and it kind of wiggles its way down in there and makes the beech really, really porous and spongy, and weakens the tree, and it kills them, and they start dropping off. This one's been dead for a little while now, but it's still providing a great amount of habitat and life there here in the forest, and that's really great too. Oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. There's so many things in here that I remember, or I don't remember, that are kind of new. But this looks like a little spring coming out of the ground here in the side of the trail. And right now it's a really, really thick, mucky mess, and it smells like spring soil. But pretty soon, once summer comes, that'll probably dry off, and all that moisture will get used up by all the other grasses and ferns and stuff that are coming up in there. Here we have some forget-me-nots. This is a really, really beautiful little friend of the forest here. Blue forget-me-not and a little white one right next to it growing. And it's probably blooming right here along the trail because it's getting a little bit more sunlight. But pretty soon I can see forget-me-nots all the way through there and all the way through here. So in another week or two, there'll probably be a huge flush of those forget-me-nots. And they really come kind of right on the tails of the vinca. You can see the vinca flowering here. Really, really beautiful little periwinkle flowers there. I love these old benches. These have been here since I was a kid too. I remember actually when they were new. And my father and I remember seeing them in the woods here, and we thought it was, just such a cool, simple idea. I mean, basically these are just two little logs that are cut and spiked through. I'm sure that's super safe. Look at this big, huge, rusty spike just sticking out right there. But just spiked through, and then this is just a slab of wood. But again, 30, 35 years this has been sitting here and still holds just fine. Here's a birch tree, and I love how a lot of the trees through this trail are labeled. And I remember as a kid being through here, seeing all these labels, and many of them are. But the labels were, where a man could label them and wrap that around the tree. And over the years, the tree has grown up, and the label now for white birch is way, way up a little bit higher. But this is also a really neat little signature here. This birch tree being right here, when all behind us on this whole rise, as the forest is just slightly rising up, there isn't any birch. That's a big, big hardwood stand, very little evergreen in through there with a little bit of hemlock. But then in here, right next to this birch, there's some little balsams coming up here, which smell unbelievable. And then, as you'll see, I'm just getting into this little bit of a draw where it's a little bit wetter, and we have all this hemlock and cedar and birch, and it's darker, and it's really, really wet because there's a little natural spring in the woods back in here. And so there's all this moisture in the forest, and it's completely changed the entire ground cover of the forest in here. It's a lot darker because of the trees and the plants that can thrive in this just small little shift in environment from right up there to down in here in this really, really wet location. And this mossy little covered gem here is a granite boulder. And the funny thing about working in northern Michigan is you can find a little tip like that, a little granite boulder, and you start digging around it, and all of a sudden this thing seriously could be the size of a Volkswagen bus underneath the ground right here, rolled and deposited here from the glacial times when the glaciers receded through the Great Lakes, and they rolled and left all these granite boulders. Sometimes through the woods here you'll find just a massive big boulder just sitting in the woods, and other times you just see a tip like this. And this could be a smaller boulder, but you never know. Sometimes they're just monsters just under the ground. It's really just so cool. Well, this is another really neat little part of the forest here, and if you look all through here, this looks like this mound, as if somebody took a shovel and dug up and just left this pile of soil here. And then you look further and there's a mound there and a mound there, and the whole forest, as far as you can see, is all these odd mounds through here. And what this is known as a tip-up mound. And when a large tree like that beech that we saw back there falls down, the roots tip up, and over time the tree rots away and the roots rot away, and it leaves this mound of soil and old decomposed roots and everything like that. And so all of these mounds through the forest are old trees that have tipped down, rotted away, created more soil, created more life, and created all these mounds through the forest. And so if you think about it, in time, 1,000 years, this tip-up mound eventually will erode away and change, and another one will be formed as this tree gets big and tips up and falls over and creates its own mound. So the forest is like liquid in that way, where all of these mounds are changing like water, like waves through the forest. And we think of it as this solid, and Earth is this solid, but it's this moving, living place where not only are there small little plants like this growing up, like this teeny little maple, sucker, and things happening on a very, very, very microscopic level and macro level as well, but the Earth on a very big macro level, thousands and thousands of years, is very liquid and moving and changing. And it just kind of makes me feel like, I don't know, it puts things into perspective a little bit, and makes you appreciate the few moments that we get to walk among these giants. I mean, many of these trees are well over 100 years old. We saw that beech back there that I carved my name into. That was probably only 8-inch diameter or something like that, maybe 9-inch diameter, and that's got to be 50 years old, 60 years old, because it had a little bit of size to it when I carved into it. So you can imagine that some of these oaks and maples and stuff through here that we're walking under now, are definitely at least 100, 150, 200 years old. There's some real incredible giants in here. The light in here is just magical right now. I wish you guys could smell it. That'll be the $1 million idea, is who can come up with a scratch and sniff YouTube video. So you could smell the smells of the forest and smell the smells of a certain flower. Thick bed of ferns here. Come late summer, you won't be able to see anything but pure ferns for this whole entire section right here. It's a pretty nice little stand of ostrich ferns here. Beautiful. Wow. Well, let's dive in here before we say goodbye and call it an evening. Let's dive into the woods here, because there's all kinds of, here's some more lily coming up. A whole nice stand of lily coming up here. And you can see that after the lily of the valley coming up, and the trout lily here is faded away. So there was a bunch of trout lily through here, and here's a leaf still, but there was a bunch of trout lily in here. I can see all these little leaves. It was probably blooming a week or so ago, and now it's faded away, and we're making room for the next bloom. Solomon's seal. Baneberry. beech. These young beech are really, really pretty. Look at these little beech suckers coming up. I love the fuzzy, fuzzy leaf on a beech. It's so, so fuzzy. Right now with toilet paper shortage, makes you wonder. That might be fairly handy right there, but I could easily spend all night in this forest here getting lost. It's kind of just goes on and on and on forever, and I've definitely spent many, many hours wandering through here with my dad back in the day, and now without him, by myself, and certainly with my two boys and my sweet wife. Every chance we get, we walk through here and think about all the special people in our lives, and I hope that all of you have a space like this somewhere in your life where you can take a nice walk in the woods and enjoy it. I encourage you all to get out there, get some fresh air, learn as much as you can about the natural environment, because it's super, super magical. I'd love it if you'd subscribe, click the little bell so that you get notified every time we do a walk in the woods or a walk in the garden, and join us on all of these fun adventures. And anyway, we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.